Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to another episode of Giant Cocktails. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother, the budding Matthew Henry. How you doing, Matthew?
The budding.
Budding.
I mean, like I'm like growing. I'm getting bigger, better. I don't know.
Whoa, Matthew. Whoa. This is a family show.
Well, there's like budding superstars. There's
Yeah, you're a little flower starting to bloom. You're just starting to show. Okay, a little late in life, I got to say, but there's nothing wrong with being a late bloomer.
No, nothing wrong. Better late than never.
Exactly, and being in the never boat, I sure hope there's still time.
Yeah, someday you too can be budding, Ben.
That's right. But I'm not. You are. You're the budding one. I am the dormant one.
Oh,
yeah, and because it's spring, it's finally here.
Technically, or just baseball wise?
No, baseball wise. I don't technically. What is that? Technically, is there a thing?
Well, I think there's like somewhere in the cosmos that the determines when spring actually hits.
Right.
I don't think it's the start. I don't think it's when pitchers and catchers report.
No, I think it's when the equinox happens.
Yeah, something like that.
In fact, I do know that. It's not when the groundhog does or doesn't see his shadow. I will tell you that.
Okay.
That's not when it happens. But no, none of that's true. It's about when baseball starts, and baseball has started. Now, it's still early days. We're not playing real baseball. I don't even know that the players have officially, the position players have to show up yet. It's just still pitchers and catchers.
Right. But, but all is normal with spring because Tom Murphy's already injured. So, there's that.
What? I didn't know. Already? I didn't. They know.
Did you have Tom Murphy as the first MRI of the season? You should have.
I should have. That's what we should have done. We should have done pre-spring predictions.
We should have.
Okay, I did not know this. This is brand new information to me. And am I shocked? No. But I do think it's pretty funny because I did just hear a lot of people talking about how Tom Murphy is healthy.
I know. And I would be safe to say that Tom Murphy is not budding.
No, that's old man stuff right there.
Yeah.
Old Tom Murphy. Hey, there's a flash forward. Foreshadowing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. All right.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. That certainly changes the tenor of some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. One of the things we're going to talk about gets more interesting now.
It does. Yeah.
All right. But before we do that, Matthew, because it is spring and because it is spring training, we've had this shift. We've had this change. And I have bad news for all of our listeners and for myself. In fact, I think the only person who's going to be happy about this is you.
Oh, what is it?
It's time to put the uncomfortable truths to bed.
Yeah. I mean, that's really great to hear, Ben. I'm glad you finally listened to.
Yeah. Do you remember when I confessed that I like to watch chiropractic videos and you said that you look at Instagram?
Still uncomfortable about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's uncomfortable about that. They're uncomfortable about the fact that you didn't participate.
Well, so I see now you're just giving up. I like it.
That's right. Yeah. I would like to say it's because of the change in spring, but it's just too hard to think of those uncomfortable truths. But since it is spring, Matthew, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo.
Oh, man. I've thought about this a lot, actually. You think you're springing one on me, but I'd like to say, Ben, that I'd capture it. I'd seize the moment, make it mine. But let's be real. I'd probably overthink it, hesitate. The next thing you know, mom's spaghetti is everywhere. Palms, sweaty. Knees, weak. Arms, well, honestly, pretty average, but definitely heavy after a couple of old fashions. And hey, I'd like to think that I'd just wipe the vomit off my sweater already. And on the surface, look calm and ready. So yeah, I think I'd capture it. Unless that moment involves karaoke, then I just might let it slip.
Okay. So you're ready to drop bombs. The question is, are you a bomber pilot or are you a comedian?
Much closer to a comedian than a bomber pilot.
Yeah. I would say that's you're a bad comedian. Agreed. Anyway, today is Sunday, February 16th, as we record this podcast. Today, we're talking about just that. The one opportunity that you have to seize everything you ever wanted. If you're a Major League Baseball player who's run out of options. Talking about you, David VR. Although I think your one opportunity was actually 2 years ago.
When he was the starting third baseman? Yeah.
Yes, anointed by one Farhan Zaidi. But anyway, but he still is relevant. He is at spring training. He is at the big league camp. And he's out of options. He's got to make the team or he's got to be DFA'd. So today we're talking about that, not just David VR, but all of them. Today it is a position battle royale. We're going to be talking about all the guys who are locks to make it. And maybe Matthew and I will disagree about who are locks and who aren't. And then we're going to be talking about the guys who are on the bubble. And I don't know, maybe we'll make some predictions. Maybe we won't. But we're definitely going to have fun talking about it, figure out what are the interesting position battles for us to talk about and to monitor as spring goes on. But before we do that, Matthew, it's time for our trivia question.
Yes, it is. So today's question is, this 3-time World Series champion had a 9-1 postseason record and a 0.92 postseason ERA, and he only played for 2 teams in his entire 15-year career. Who is he?
Benjamin the Dominator Henry.
Oh, man, you and I both wish that. That would have been...
You would have been my big brother?
Oh, man, I would have just been riding your coattails,
Right.
I would have... Yeah, that would have been great.
This really did happen, Matthew.
It did?
Yeah, it really did. In my out of the park season, or always like multi-season. I had a whole career. I changed the guy's name. He was great. He was one of the best middle relievers in all of baseball.
Okay. All right.
I felt bad. I couldn't make him like a starting pitcher or a closer or anything, so it had to be like middle relief.
All right. Well, you're not rich beyond your wildest dreams. You're just comfortably wealthy.
That's right. That's right. But I have a feeling that's not the answer.
Probably not. No. We'll find out, folks, how wrong Ben is at the end of the episode.
Oh, man. All right.
Isn't it time for the booze, boys?
Yes.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
So, Bob, last week, I think I introduced the Cosmopolitan, which was a vodka drink. Ben and I both had vodka drinks last week, and for the first time in the history of Giant Cocktails. And I have been playing around with the Cosmo template, mainly because we are going to be entertaining friends soon who only like Cosmos. And I'm kind of determined to start edging them out of Cosmos and eventually into something else. So I started looking at Cosmo adjacent type cocktails, kind of a gateway out of a Cosmo, if you will. And so what I came up with this time is called a Bloody Season. I'm calling it that because it's got blood orange in it, and the season could be really, really bad, folks. So I'm just kind of and then when you see it, if you see the color, it is like bright red. I mean, it is like blood red. So what's in a bloody season? Well, it's got 2 ounces of vodka, 2/3 of an ounce of Cointreau, 1 ounce of blood orange juice, 2/3 of an ounce of lime juice, and a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Take all those into a cocktail shaker with ice. Give it a good shake until well chilled. Double strain it into a chilled coupe glass and garnish with a blood orange peel or a blood orange wheel if you like. So that's what I'm drinking. It's a sweet and Cosmo adjacent cocktail, but I really like the introduction of the blood orange. So that's what I'm drinking today, the bloody season.
That's a tasty cocktail. What are you drinking, Ben?
Matthew, I thought spring was about... Hang on, Bob. Thank you for asking. That's very kind of you. I'll get to it in a second. But Matthew, I thought this was about... Spring was about being positive. Bloody season?
I'm just trying to be real, Ben.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm trying to temper expectations. That's all.
Right. Okay.
Because honestly, Ben,
you set yourself
I
up
get
pretty...
really positive. I get really optimistic, and then then my feelings are crushed, and you don't know what that does to somebody over time. It's really hard, and I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic this year. That's all.
Okay. So you're not going to predict 90 wins this year.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, Bob, I am drinking a cocktail that I am calling Tom's Red-Headed Lover, also known as Ginny. And what is in a Tom's Red-Headed Lover, also known as Ginny? Well, I'm glad you asked, Bob. It is a riff on the Tom Collins. It has 1.5 ounces of Old Tom gin, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, and 3 to 4 ounces of ginger beer, pre-chilled. Your ginger beer must be cold, very cold.
Okay.
To make it, you add your gin and your lemon juice to a highball glass with no ice. You stir that well to combine. Then you add your ice, and you carefully add the ginger beer. You pour it down the side, not over the ice. And that ginger beer has been unopened until this moment. And then you do not stir. You heathen. Okay, that's it. You just drink it. The bubbles will mix the cocktail. And that's how you make Tom's Red-Headed Lover, a.k.a. Ginny. Now, if you wanted, you could add a little simple syrup here to sweeten this up. You could also add some ginger liqueur.
Ooh.
To help sweeten it up and add more ginger flavor if you wanted. But I really like it this way. It's quite refreshing.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Thanks, Bob.
I amended your recipe on our show notes, Ben, to Old Tom Murphy gin.
The Old Tom Murphy gin? Yeah, that was the reference. That was the foreshadowing. I had no idea when I made an Old Tom gin cocktail that Old Tom Murphy was going to be injured by the time we started recording. So thank you. Yes. This cocktail does call for Old Tom Murphy gin.
Poor old Tom.
Oh man, I can't. This is dumbfounding. I'm dumbfounded. Like. I already now
like after one day, like I don't know how. I'm poor guy, and
well, that's interesting because I kind of figured that the catcher position was really not that big of a deal, but this kind of makes the rest of the catcher situation more interesting because what if Tom Murphy can't go? Now it really does matter who is going to be Patrick Bailey's backup. And folks, Patrick Bailey needs a backup.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking in my head that like normally you wouldn't really care who the backup catcher is, right? But I think in our case, we definitely need somebody that can spell Patrick Bailey every now and then because the guy definitely tends to wear out in the second half. So it will be important whoever it ends up being. And
Well, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the position battles. And so the way I thought that we could do this, Matthew, is at first, we will talk about the players that we think are locks. And then we'll talk about all of the players who are the bubbles.
Okay.
But, all right. Yeah, okay. So we're going to start with the outfield. And I have just unilaterally decided that the Giants are going to have 5 outfielders.
Okay.
Okay. They're going to have 5 outfielders. And the guaranteed locks, in my opinion, are Jung-Hoo Lee, Elliot Ramos, and Mike Yastrzemski. Now, by lock, I mean they're going to make the roster. I'm not saying those guys are necessarily your starting 3. And by lock, I mean no matter what happens during spring training, other than injury or some bizarre news story, they're going to make the major league team. Okay? That's what it means to be a lock. If they get hurt or they embezzle bananas, then they probably won't. But other than that, they're definitely going to make the roster. So that's what I mean by lock.
Okay. Why would you embezzle bananas? I mean, is there a banana shortage? Is it one of those tariff things that you like?
I mean, yeah. Yes, exactly. I'm not sure what a tariff is, but yeah, that sounds right.
If they're going to embezzle something, I'd request like green chartreuse, something like that.
That would be, yeah, embezzle some of that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, whatever they're embezzling, Matthew, that means they don't make the team. But I'm assuming that doesn't happen. So Jung-Hoo Lee will not be embezzling green chartreuse or bananas. So therefore, he's going to be on the major league roster.
Okay. I agree with that. Yeah.
And also, hopefully, doesn't crash into a wall.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question for you is, do you agree with my locks? Yay or nay?
Yeah. No, I think, Jung-Hoo Lee, Elliot Ramos, Mike Yastrzemski, I think, I don't think there's any way they're going anywhere unless they, there's a big trade in the middle of the spring season. But I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, let's assume there's no trades, right? This is like, and I'm not saying these guys are going to be good. I'm not saying that they're going to keep that spot all the way through the season. I'm just saying they're on the roster on opening day.
Agreed.
And there's really very little that they can do to play themselves out of that spot.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we're in agreement. Well, there's 2 more spots to fill.
Yep.
And there are, I think, in my estimation, 5 extra names that could make those 2 spots.
Okay.
And they are Gerard Encarnacion, Marco Luciano, Luis Matos, Grant McCray, and Wade Meckler.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting is Gerard Encarnacion has 0 options left, right? Remember, they signed him to a minor league contract last year, and then they put him on the 40-man and called him up because he was hitting bombs, both in Mexico and then in Sacramento. Yep. Just hitting bombs. They brought him up, and he hit the ball hard. Didn't necessarily translate into home runs, but he was doing well.
Yeah.
And so, and now he's back, and he's kind of like, he's pretty high on everybody's radar. The problem is if he doesn't make the major league roster, they have to DFA him unless he agrees to be sent to the minors.
Which he's not going to, because he can get a job somewhere else.
No, he's not going to, because he would get picked up by somebody else. Easy. So there's one. All of the other guys are in their last option year, except for Grant McCray, who has 3 options left.
Okay.
So 3 more years that he could be up and down, up and down.
Who are the other 3 guys?
Luciano, Matos, and Meckler.
Okay. So you want me to choose 2 of those guys?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess the question is like, who do you think is going to make it? Who do you want to see make it? Who do you think, I mean,
those are 2 very different questions.
These are the 4 guys that are going to be battling it out with each other.
Well, those are 2 very different questions, who I want and who I think.
Agreed. Answer either one.
Okay. Well, I think who will make it are Encarnacion and McCray.
Okay. Interesting.
I think Encarnacion because he's out of options. And it seems like his name has been brought up a lot, like by Melvin and Posey and interviews and things. And I think they're expecting him to to be a guy that they count on. So I don't see him going anywhere. And he played pretty well last year, so I just don't see him going anywhere, especially because he's out of options. So I think he's a lock.
Okay.
I think Grant McCrae makes it because you shared a video with me yesterday that had Brody Brazil interviewing Bob Melvin.
That's right. Brody has his own YouTube channel now that he is no longer employed by NBC Sports, although I think he's employed by the San Jose Sharks now.
He is, yeah. I think he's a Sharks guy, yeah.
But anyway, he has his own YouTube channel, and he interviewed Bob Melvin.
And Bob Melvin was it just made it sound like he mentioned Grant McCrae twice in the interview as if he was on the team.
Yeah, he was very pro Grant, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Like, Grant's going to steal a lot of bases this year. Grant's like, and it was just like, whoa, he's kind of like talking to him about him like he's on the team. And so I feel like Bob Melvin likes him. And so I feel like Encarnacion and McCrae are going to be the opening day starters. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think Luis Matos and Marco Luciano are I'd like to see the younger guys play, to be honest. But I also think that we'll see all five of these guys at some point during the year. I
mean, yeah, but that's the easy answer.
Okay, but I think Encarnacion and McCrae, they're the ones that are going to start. That's what I'm picking.
Yeah, I disagree with that completely. I mean, I agree with you that seems likely. I think that would be totally the wrong choice.
I know, but you're an idiot. So.
Yeah. Whatever. What? Okay, yeah, you're right. I am an idiot. But here's the thing. Like, Encarnacion, I think, is obvious because I think a lot of times they're talking about him being a possible DH role. And listeners, I'm telling you right now, we didn't even put DH on our list. I mean, I did. I put it down there with the first basemans, but it's like, it's not a dedicated thing this year for the Giants. But Encarnacion is the kind of guy who could, while he's not starting in the outfield, could very easily slot into that DH spot.
And so he could also play first base, too. So there's that.
Right. He does play a little bit of first base. So I think he is as close to a lock as you can get to making it. So I agree. Encarnacion probably should and probably will make it. Matthew, I am just not a Grant McCrae guy. I'm not. I'm not a Grant McCrae guy. I know he had some really great numbers, but the dude strikes out more than I do.
That's right.
And I'm not talking about baseball.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay,
oh, you just got that? Yeah. That took like way too long, Matthew. I think all of our listeners got it, even the ones that are underage. Before you did.
Well, the ones that are underage, they're striking out too. So
yeah, well, I'd like to tell you guys that things get better as you get older, but there's no guarantee of that. But anyway, what really concerns me here is Luciano and Matos, right? Like, these guys need to be unblocked because they are in their last option year, right? Like, this is their one shot to be able to prove and even maybe given a lot of runway.
Yeah. This is their chance to lose themselves in the
moment. That's right. This is their one shot. This is their opportunity. And I'm really concerned that Buster and Bob aren't going to give it to him. Not you, Bob. You're great.
I don't get paid enough for this.
That's because you don't get paid at all. But okay, I mean Bomel. Right? Buster and Bomel are not going to give him the opportunity because they're going to send him to Sacramento. So, I'm worried about that. I just don't think that McCrae, I think those two guys have the higher ceiling than McCrae.
I agree. But I think McCrae, because he's got three options, at some point he's going to strike himself out of a major league spot and he's going to get an option back. And we're going to see Luciano or Matos, especially if one of them is tearing it up in Sacramento.
Yeah. All right. But then he'll have to come up and then continue to tear it up. He'll have to pull a Ramos.
Yes.
All because Grant McCrae was given a spot he shouldn't have gotten. That's all I'm saying.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense.
All right. One guy we didn't mention in this list is Meckler. But that's okay, because his name might come up again later. But first, oh my gosh, Matthew, it's time to talk about catcher. And old Tom Murphy.
Old Tom Murphy.
So I said that there's only 2 catcher spots. People like to say, oh, you could carry 3 catchers. Nobody carries 3 catchers.
No.
Right? Like, it just doesn't happen. Even now with the 26-man roster, nobody carries 3 catchers. So the Giants are going to carry 2 catchers. And obviously, one of them is Patrick Bailey. You're the best defender on the planet. You're going to make the team. Sometimes you hit okay, right? Now, you're the best defender on the planet, and sometimes you hit okay, and everybody's talking about how you're too fat, or you're not buff enough, or you don't sleep enough, or you don't, like, you know, it's like, man, the guy can't catch a break.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's got to do something about his second half swoon. And one of the things that he could do is not play so much. And I understand how the Giants want to play him so much because he'd be so good at defense. But in order to maybe have that bat a little bit more, go a little bit deeper into the season, you play him less. Which means, as you said earlier in the show, the backup really matters. And I thought for sure this was going to be Tom Murphy. It was going to be old Tom. But now you tell me old Tom's got a tight back. Which means now we got to talk about this Huff kid and this Porter guy and this Stassi.
We don't really have to talk about them. We could just say that they're options. I mean, there's one of those guys could be it. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, Stassi's supposed to be the good defender.
Yeah, my money's on him.
But he's 34 years old. He is not on the 40-man roster.
Huff is already on the 40-man. So Huff is on the 40-man. So Huff could be the guy.
But honestly, Matthew, I just feel like, I mean, I don't dislike Tom Murphy. Like, I understand why Zaidi signed him. And I don't dislike him as a guy. What I dislike about Tom Murphy is how he epitomizes everything that Zaidi was bad at. You know?
Well, he was certainly taking a gamble. The guy's played like 70 games in 3 years.
Right.
So it's definitely one of those, tremendous upsides.
Right. And we signed him instead of running Joey Bart out there last year. Right. And that turned out to be like, the worst thing that was happening to Joey Bart was the San Francisco Giants. Right.
Could you imagine this year our conversation just being that Bailey and Bart are the 2 catchers and that would be it?
Yeah, and you're like, oh man, it would sure be nice if you could put the 2 of them together and create a single one catcher because Joey hits and Bailey's so good at defense and it's such a conundrum. That would be a wonderful conversation to be having. Instead, we're talking about a guy who performs better when he's with the Pittsburgh Pirates instead of the San Francisco Giants, which should be nobody. But here we be. All right, so anyway, that's why I don't like Tom Murphy, but I understand why he signed. But man, that guy is just totally snake bit.
All right, we spent too much time talking about a catcher, but...
Yeah, too much time.
I keep thinking about wouldn't it be cool if baseball was like hockey where you had just like an emergency catcher just like in every stadium?
That would be pretty cool.
Like all of a sudden, like the second guy goes down and all of a sudden this guy's eating nachos in a suite and he's got to rush down and put on the gear. That'd be really cool.
You basically have a fan come out and play.
Yes. And you played catcher in T-ball or in Little League.
I did.
So I think, you might have a shot. You have experience.
No.
No. All right.
No. It was bad enough when one guy throws 100. Now they all throw 100. No. No, thank you. I don't think that, I used to think maybe they could just have an emergency pitcher. Like, we could just do extra innings the way we used to, but you just run an emergency pitcher out there and he pitches for both sides.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
He would get pretty tired both times. Maybe you need 2 emergency pitchers.
Yeah, probably 2. Yeah.
But yeah, they just hang out. They just they're the guys. They're the guys. Or maybe you have a whole suite of them, like all 10 show up at the game and they, they're all in a suite and then they just all run out there. I like that idea. But no, that's not going to happen because it's, I'm about to say something totally stupid.
Of course you are.
I mean, I know. I heard it too, listener. It's easier to be a hockey goalie, than it is to be a catcher.
Okay.
That's right. I said it. That's right. I said it. Right. Okay, do this, but now do it on ice skates, Ben.
Yeah, there's that one little part.
You know what? Let's talk about first base.
Okay, let's talk about first base.
Let's move on. Okay. All right. So I have here listed first base and DH, and there are 2 spots available for this spot.
Okay.
And I have one lock, and that is Lamont Wade Jr.
Yes.
Now, I know
Agreed.
Lamont Wade Jr.'s name has been thrown around as a trade piece, blah, 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 blah. But remember, the rules are assume they won't be traded. If he's not traded and he doesn't embezzle bananas and he doesn't get hurt,
he's
making it. He's a lock.
He's Bob Melvin's leadoff guy.
That's right. He's the leadoff guy. That's right. Jung Hoo Lee's batting third. Wade is the leadoff guy, and I think Adames is hitting second.
Correct.
Is that right? Yeah, you heard it here
they want
first,
to
folks.
split up the lefty-righty kind of thing. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. This is Bob Melvin's idea, not mine. Okay? Okay, so if you're mad, don't complain to me. Complain to Bob Melvin. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Wade Jr. And they also, I think I heard Pavlovich say that Wade Jr. has been running.
Yeah, well, that's all he did this offseason, apparently. He did sprints, he did distance running, he was doing all sorts of running.
Right. Well, you know what you need to run, Matthew?
Legs.
Well, yes. And one part of that in particular that he's not so good at last year, knees.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yes.
You need knees. Oh, he also did hurt his hamstring too, didn't he?
Yeah, you need a hamstring.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's been running all year, and so the lower legs are working so good. But that means there are 3 names on the bubble.
You say 3.
I say 3.
When I read the show notes earlier today, you only had 2.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Man, don't go and be like, oh, Bryce Eldridge is a legitimate shot. You didn't even put him on the list, Ben.
That's a lie.
It's not a lie.
Okay, well, look, in my defense, I was completely sober when I made that list.
Okay, well, that explains it.
Oh, wait, no, it usually happens the other way around, right? I don't know why I forgot Bryce Eldridge, Matthew. I don't know why. Maybe because I know that the man is 20 years old, the boy is 20 years old, and that it's ridiculous that he would make this team. But he is a non-roster invitee.
We can't even ask him what his favorite cocktail is, Ben. All right? So just chill your roll here. It's just like he's going to sit in AAA for a year.
It's probably Red Bull and vodka.
Probably, yeah. All right, but that leaves 2 others, though.
That does leave 2 others. Your favorite.
I'll be there for you.
That's right. Wilmer Flores.
Wilmer.
And some guy named Jake Lamb.
Your man, Jake Lamb.
No.
But
it's not going to be Jake Lamb.
Okay, well, I don't think so either. But it's kind of funny how, I think we, at some point last year, we had a little, rest in peace Wilmer Flores, segment. There was
we did. I think we bid him adieu.
We did. And here he is. Just right in the middle of it. And probably will be the backup first baseman / DH.
Yeah, I think he's pretty close to a lock. I mean, I only put him here on the bubble so that we could talk about Jake Lamb and Bryce Eldridge.
I don't even know what there is to talk about Jake Lamb. I don't really understand the signing. I guess I do understand it. They need a contingency for Wilmer Flores because Wilmer Flores is no sure thing.
And he was also a CAA guy.
Oh, right.
This is one of the things where those people complain about the old boys network being the old boys network and just doing things because of their hearts and who they know rather than with their brains and who's good.
Well, and folks, don't forget. So Buster's old agent is now an advisor to the Giants, and he was he was one of the co-owners or whatever of CSAA or whatever that place is, the agency that represents Jake Lamb. So yeah, we're starting to see maybe that was a courtesy. Let's get our guy in here.
Yeah, this one annoys me because he's a left-handed first baseman, which tells me, okay, if we need a left-handed first baseman because Lamont Wade Jr. gets hurt, then we're not going to see Bryce Eldridge. We're going to see Jake Lamb, who hasn't done anything good in baseball for at least 5 years. So, not super excited about Jake Lamb. Just no. Honestly, if we see Jake Lamb on the major league roster, something went very wrong with somebody else. So, in that vein, I hope we don't see him because it means something very bad happened to somebody else.
Okay, I agree. So we're Wade and Flores then. That's our prediction.
That's right. Yes, it's Wade and Flores.
All right.
That's what my prediction is, but I still want Bryce Eldridge.
Okay. All right.
But I find that highly unlikely.
Highly.
All right. Last position group are the second base, third base, and shortstop people.
Yeah. Okay.
And here are my locks. Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, and Tyler Fitzgerald.
Sure. Yeah. Those are our starters. Got it.
And then...
And they play the entire season, every single inning, and we don't have to worry about who's behind them. Let's move on.
I mean, with these three guys, actually, probably. I mean, like, that's what Matt Chapman did last year. Willie Adames, almost the same thing.
Okay, that's actually true. Okay,
so Tyler Fitzgerald is the one that's the question mark because he just wasn't on the team all year. But like,
he's a young
feel
guy.
like he's a guy.
Yeah, he's young. Yeah, he's got legs.
Exactly. But nonetheless, Matthew, you do still need one backup amongst that group in case any of those guys needs to be rested or somebody else needs to be rested and you want to put one of these guys. You know, you need somebody.
Okay.
And the options are recently traded for Oslives Besabe.
Easy for you to say.
It is easy for me to say. It's not that hard. Wade Meckler. Again, that's right. Wade Meckler.
Go Wade.
I thought he was an outfielder, Matthew.
He was.
No, he was, but now he's a second baseman / outfielder, just like Brett Wisely. And if he's just like Brett Wisely, then he'll be really good in the outfield and suck at second base. Speaking of which, also on this list, Casey Schmidt, the very earlier mentioned David Villar, and then, of course, Brett Wisely. There you go, Matthew. So Besabe was once a highly touted prospect, was ranked pretty high in the Rays organization, an organization that's usually pretty good about getting prospects to the major leagues. He missed, and then was DFA'd, and so the Giants traded for him for cash. Then Meckler, who we know, Casey Schmidt, who we know, David Villar, and I think the incumbent, Brett Wisely, who has played like 154 games the last 2 years, Matthew.
That seems like not possible.
It seems like you know why I was so upset. You know why I got this tattoo of Fire Faron on my neck? I think is mostly because of Brett Wisely. But he is sort of the incumbent, like, right? Like,
yeah,
he's the guy.
I it's interesting you say that though, because I'm looking at this. I'm trying to figure out who plays third base.
Oh, well, Casey Schmidt and
Right.
David Villar play third base.
So, but if you're one of those guys has to be the one then. If there's only one spot left.
I mean, it would seem to be that way, unless they feel like Fitzgerald could play third base.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that is a good point. Who's playing third base?
Besabe has played third base. He's played a little bit of everything, so he is an option there. But I don't know if he's an upgrade over like someone like Casey Schmidt.
Yeah, so, I mean, Casey Schmidt is a sublime third baseman. He's no Matt Chapman, but he's pretty darn good.
But we saw him play shortstop. I think we even saw him play second base. So I'm going with Schmidt as my as the one that makes the roster there.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I think too. And that's what I want. I think we've seen, it wasn't 154. It was 142 games out of Brett Wisely, a 0.3 B WAR in that time. And by the way, WAR is what? It's wins above replacement. Okay? What does that mean? It means how many more wins are you worth than a replacement player? And a replacement player is a guy who, by default, if nobody was hurt in all of Major League Baseball, should not be in Major League Baseball. That's what a replacement player is. And that is what Brett Wisely is. Brett Wisely has established himself over 142 games as a replacement level player. I think it's time to go in a different direction, and I think that direction is Casey Schmidt.
Well, Casey Schmidt didn't have a terrible 2024. I mean, he only played in 40 games, but He had an OPS plus of 114.
That's 14% above average, I hear.
Yeah. He batted 252. And played excellent defense, right? So I think Casey Schmidt is the guy that would be the obvious choice for me.
By the way, he's played 130 games and has a negative 0.3 BWAR. Now, a lot of that was in 2023. So he's actually, but over that same stretch, he's worse than Brett Wisely, but had a better 2024. So maybe we're the idiots. If you're a Brett Wisely fan, take that as a grain of salt. But we're the ones with the podcast, aren't we? It's not that hard, folks. Like you just get a microphone and a computer, and then like all you got to do is like
they just let anybody do it. They
let anybody do it. You just upload the file to like you pay somebody $20 a month, and boom, you got a podcast. It's crazy. But then you got to show up and record it. So yeah, there you go.
There's that.
Anyway,
There's that.
All right, it's time for us to move on to the pitchers, Matthew.
Oh, this is easy. Okay, finally an easy one.
This is easy. I think that this is a lock. I mean,
so you got Webb, Verlander, Ray, Hicks, and
wait, what did you say?
I said Webb, Verlander, Ray, Hicks, and
I see. I don't recognize that fifth guy. Matthew's alluding to the fact that our list of guys on the bubble for the last starting spot, because yeah, I would agree. The locks are Hicks, Ray, Verlander, and Webb. And you might want to argue about Jordan Hicks being a lock. Buster Posey and Bob Melvin have said he's a lock. And Buster Posey has not lied to us once all offseason.
Don't argue. He's there. Like 15 pounds heavier. Like he's got put on some muscle. Like he's ready. So
Yeah. It's his job. Like it's not his job to lose. It's his job. So there's only one spot open.
But if he struggles, Ben, we got some options behind. We got.
That's right. So our list for guys on the bubble is one.
Wait. Before you say it, okay, I want you to name them all in one breath.
Okay, ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, I got to take some. I got to prime up here. Oh, you want me to say their whole name?
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay, let me make sure that I know their full name.
I know, yeah, exactly. You don't have to say their last. Just say whatever name he comes in. That's fine.
Okay. I'll say what I know. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Hayden Birdsong, Kyle Harrison, Landon Roop, Mason Black,
Trevor.
Blank McDonald, Old McDonald, Mr. Seymour, and the Clown Ragsdale.
When in doubt, just say Carson.
Oh, Carson. That's right. You're right. I should have said Carson. Okay, Carson McDonald, Carson Seymour, and Carson Ragsdale. Those are all of the guys that are on the 40-man roster. And yeah, those are all guys on the 40-man roster. Is Ragsdale on the 40-man roster? No, right? No, he is not. He can't possibly be. Unless they had to protect him for some reason. Oh my goodness, he is on the 40-man roster. So yeah. So there you go. Those are all guys, starting pitchers that are on the 40-man roster. And the front runner right now, I feel
it's got to be Kyle Harrison, right? I mean,
no, it doesn't. I mean, you would think, but I don't think so.
Is it going to be like a wrestling match between Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong?
Yes. I think Birdsong had the better season, even though it was obvious. Well, I don't know. This is what happens. Kyle exercised, and look what happened. He was jumping over that box. He rolled his ankle, and now he was the number one left-handed prospect for starting pitchers in baseball. And now in his second full season, he's not even a lock to make the team. Don't exercise, kids. So yeah, I don't know. You know what I do know, Matthew, is that the Giants only have one left-handed guy in their bullpen. And you know what Kyle Harrison does?
He pitches from the left side, yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Of all the crazy ideas about Taylor Rogers being let go or traded, let me just throw the craziest one on the pile. Kyle Harrison is your second left-hander in the bullpen. But no, I mean, I think this is really, I think, a battle between Birdsong and Harrison. I think Landon Roop is a dark horse. All of these other guys, they are going to be in AAA.
I think that AAA rotation is going to be pretty bad. I got to tell you, you named all 7 guys on the bubble, and I got to tell you that I'm in love with the bubble, man. Like
the bubble's pretty good. Let me ask you this, Matthew: is this the best rotation in Sacramento next year?
It's the best rotation in the Pacific Coast League.
I think it might be the best rotation in Sacramento next year.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Yes, it is. It is the best rotation in Sacramento. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I put this up against Oakland.
Yeah. So I like it that the Giants are very, very deep. Unfortunately, as we learned last year, you need to be deep. Is this deep enough? I don't know. But I got good news, Matthew. Kai-Wei Tang. He's not on the 40-man anymore, but he's still a Giant. So
nobody else wanted him. That's why.
That's one way to look at it. That's probably the way to look at it. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so I mean, at the end of the day, this is a fight between Birdsong and Harrison. I think whoever doesn't make the team probably ends up in the bullpen as your long man. But all of these other guys are going to be in AAA to start the season. But we might see all of them. I mean, we might.
Yeah. I mean, the locks. They're not like locks, Ben. I mean, they're locks to start the season. I don't even know if they're locks to start the season, to be honest. But you're
thinking about injury. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes. Yeah. That's, of course, when you got a 42-year-old Justin Verlander, and then you got Robbie Ray, who's hasn't seen a healthy day in 2 years. Yeah. I feel like there's going to be opportunities.
Let's face it. Our only lock is Logan Webb.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick a winner between Harrison and Birdsong?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. Who do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I want you to go first.
Birdsong.
My gut says Birdsong because it's funny, like all the social media stuff that I've seen has been like Justin Verlander and Hayden Birdsong being like total buds.
Oh, I see.
And I feel like there's like this whole like storyline arc that the veteran is like, is teaching his the protege kind of thing. And so I feel like it's going to be Birdsong too, but I don't want to give up on Kyle Harrison. I think that we're going to need him, and I think sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean he's got to step up. He's got to step up. This is his. I don't know that this spring is his one opportunity, but 2025 is his one opportunity. This is the time to prove it, to show. Because otherwise, this stuff happens real fast, and baseball will move on from you. So Kyle Harrison is on the bubble for his career in 2025. To be what we all hoped he would be, rather than just a guy who kind of hangs around, which, by the way, is pretty effing amazing. Sure. To be a guy who just hangs around Major League Baseball. But that's not what we hoped for.
I mean, God, if you're like a 10-year 4th or 5th starter, that's not a bad career. Yeah,
that's pretty good. But that's not what we want.
No.
That's not what we want. That's not what we think of when we think prospect.
No, we want.
That's what people mean, by the way, though, when they talk about prospects.
that's yes, right. A guy that can contribute for a few years. Yeah.
When they talk about prospects, one of the things they rank you on is, can you be a guy who bounces back and forth? Can you be a replacement player? Because they consider that to be a Major League Baseball player, because they are. And that's what those rankings take into account. But anyway, it's time for us to talk about the bullpen. We got to bring this home, Matthew.
Let's bring it home.
There are 8 spots in the bullpen. I'm assuming the Giants are going to go with 13 position players and 13 pitchers, meaning 13 minus 5 is 8. Here are my locks in alphabetical order. Camilo Doval, Sean Jelly.
Eric.
You're right, Eric Miller. Thank you. I was going to say Carson Miller. Tyler Rogers and
Ryan.
Carson Walker. What is going on with my brain right now?
Ryan
Walker. Mr. Send him to the showers. Or is he sending himself to the showers when he does his little,
All I know is the man hasn't given up an earned run since he took over the closer. Job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are my locks. I think Miller, Rogers, and Walker, no debate. We could debate Duvall and Jelly.
I don't even know if you could debate Duvall, but
No, you can't.
Yeah. Unless he can't hit the broadside of a barn during spring. He's making the team.
That's the thing. I think he could play himself out if he was awful.
Yeah.
If he was awful, they'd be like, he needs to start out in Sacramento.
Or they trade him. Yeah.
Or whatever. But that's not the same thing for like I don't think Jung-Hoo Lee could like if Jung-Hoo Lee is awful for the spring, he's making it. So I think that's where you can debate with Duvall. But I'm calling him a lock because he's my boy.
Yeah, I agree. He's a lock. Let's just call him a lock. Okay, so that means there's 3 guys left.
Yes. And I'm saying the bubble is anyone who was on the bubble for starting pitching. So remember, that was Carson Birdsong, Carson Harrison, Carson Roop, Carson Black, Carson McDonald, Carson Seymour, and Carson Ragsdale.
Mm-hmm.
But also Carson Beck, Carson Bivens,
Tristan Beck,
Carson Lucchese, Carson Rodriguez, Carson Wynn, and Carson Wisenhunt. Now, Lucchese, not on the 40-man roster, but the only other guy within 1,000 miles of Eric Miller who throws with his left hand. Kyle Harrison notwithstanding. And then Wisenhunt is not on the 40-man, but, he's one of our top-rated. He's our top-rated pitching prospect, so I'm putting him on the list, too.
Okay.
And also a lefty.
I always feel like this is the area where like a non-roster invitee kind of makes the team. It seems like there's always like some guy that just kind of sneaks in. Like there was some guy this week that they were saying that was hitting like 101 on the gun. And I think it was it Lou Trevino or
Trevino. That's who that's who Fangraphs has slotted in there. Yeah.
So I think those last 3 spots are wide open.
Right. Agreed.
And I think that's where if you want to watch like what goes on in spring training, the bullpen spots are where I think there's the most question marks, especially in the early innings relief guys. But you guys got Spencer Bivens, who pitched very well. You got Keaton Wynn. You got Tristan Beck. There's no reason to doubt any one of those guys would be in the bullpen on opening day. So if I had to guess, that's who it would be. It'd be Bivens, Rodriguez, and Wynn. I'm sorry, not Wynn. Beck. I'd say Beck.
Okay. Yeah. I think Beck, Bivens, and Wynn is what I'm going to go with. Are my guesses. But I think you're right. I mean, this is wide open. They got a lot of flexibility there. I mean, they might have favorites already, but I think don't be surprised by whatever 3 names end up in this list. Because I feel like... Now, the only caveat to this is I did say anyone on the bubble from starting pitcher. But I
think they want those guys to start, though. I don't think they want them sitting in the bullpen.
Agreed. So I think Harrison and Birdsong both make this team. And so one of them will probably take one of those 3 spots. But other than that, I think Roop, Black, McDonald, Seymour, and Ragsdale... If those guys are all probably going back to Sacramento and being your rotation, but maybe Landon Roop, not so maybe because he was in the bullpen last year too. So
yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a lot of guys fighting for 3 spots. It's kind of a free for all, right?
It is. I'm gonna argue with you. I don't think that both Birdsong and Harrison make the 26-man roster.
Really?
I think one of them ends back up. It's because I think they want them to start. And so, they would be the next man up if somebody gets hurt and they want them to keep their innings up. So I'd say they go back to Sacramento.
That is interesting. And this year they're not babying their starting pitchers anymore. At least that's what we've heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what Randy said.
That's right. Taking the gloves off. It's time to grow up and be men. That's right. That's why Tommy John invented elbow surgery.
That's right.
Right? Or something.
All right, I think it's time for the trivia question.
It is time
Ben.
for the trivia question.
All right, so the question was, this 3-time World Series champion had a 9-1 postseason record and a 0.92 postseason ERA, and he only played for 2 teams in his entire 15-year career. Ben, who is he?
It's Benjamin the Dominator Henry. Oh no, it's Santiago Casilla, of course.
That's right, one of the core 4. Otherwise known as Jairo Garcia.
That blew my mind. Jairo Garcia and Santiago Casilla, same guy.
Yeah, folks. If you don't recall, he came to the major, or he got drafted, and he used his cousin's birth certificate because his cousin was younger.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like a few years into the A's organization that it came out that he was actually a few years older, and he was Santiago Casilla and not Jairo Garcia.
A lot of players during this time were doing that because they knew that if they were younger, they would be more attractive and get signed. So,
and he still had a 15-year major league career.
But here's the thing, Matthew. When he changed his name, he became a better pitcher. So I have a conspiracy theory that Santiago Casilla and Jairo Garcia are actually 2 different people.
Oh,
and one of them is an alien.
You mean they both were different pitchers? Like that's like.
Yeah, no, they're totally different people. Like when the name changed was when the alien body snatched the body.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that would be kind of cool.
But anyway, why did you bring him up? You brought him up because he's going to be a coach.
He's one of the coaches. He's working with Camilo Doval as we speak. And which I think is great because he's Spanish speaking. He's been he's one of the things he does well is throw strikes.
Yeah,
and so they're hoping that a little coaching from one of the all-time Giant greats will help Camilo find the strike zone. And there was a lot to be said about. I think some people had some real issues with all these championship era players being brought back to coach as if it was like some indictment on how the Giants were going to revert back to being such an old school team and all that. I think that's a bit much. I feel like these are some really good players, and what does it hurt to have them come in and impart a little knowledge on the young guys?
I don't think it hurts at all. Like, I mean, what having ex-players come back and help coach? Like that sounds normal to me. In fact, I think the abnormal thing is to not do that.
Yeah. So you have a loser like Barry Bonds come back.
Right. Right. Now, if the Giants were signing Brandon Belt and Madison Bumgarner, then I think you've got a complaint. Like to play on the 26-man roster, then yeah, that's crazy. The Jake Lamb signing, borderline.
Brandon Belt, I could take a little Brandon Belt. I'd take Brandon Belt over Jake Lamb.
You take Brandon Belt. I mean, would that be crazy? How more comfortable would everybody feel? The problem is Brandon's a left-hander, and so is Lamont Wade Jr.
So it's Jake Lamb.
So yeah. You know who's there actually? On all that, if you're complaining about these old-time Giants coming back to coach, then you're complaining about JT Snow coming back to coach Bryce Eldridge. And if you're complaining about that, then stop talking about baseball. Because, of course you want JT Snow teaching your first baseman how to pick it.
Absolutely.
For crying out loud. You young people.
All right.
Go learn how to read Baseball Reference for crying out loud. Get off my lawn.
I was just going to say, get off my lawn. All right. Well, I'm going to save you all listeners from the crotchety old man. Wrap this up. Folks, don't forget to follow us on the socials at Giant Cocktails on the platform formerly known as Twitter for now.
Where's my blood pressure medication?
Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. And we'll be back next week when we'll probably start making some predictions and things, I'm guessing.
My bunions hurt.
After all of our all the players have reported. So Ben, it's been good talking to you, I think, and we'll talk again next week. Until then, cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Matthew. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
Did you have a double?
I did. I did have a double.
I don't think it worked, man. I don't think it calmed you down at all. You get a belligerent drunk versus a...
Yeah, no, I'm angry drunk. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't meant to calm me. Why would it calm me down?
That's what it does for me.
Yeah. Man, you said some things that really bothered me. You named your cocktail the Bloody Season. You made some other references that made me think, are you just trying to get me to react to that? Like, so, tone that down a little bit is what I'm saying. Or at least know what you're doing when you do it, man. Jeez.
I don't even go there. Your brain is, man. You're right.
Like, I'm trying over here to be like, oh, like,
have fun editing.
Oh, I'm sorry to be fine. We were very close to an hour. We didn't. Nobody dropped any F-bombs.
I did drop an F-bomb, just so you know.
Oh no. Well, you know what? I'll edit it in the morning. It'll be fine. I'll be sober then, and I'll be like F-bomb.
When you told me you were stopping the uncomfortable truth, I went woohoo, and I went fuck yeah.